Never shall innocent blood be shed. Yet the blood of the wicked shall flow like a river. The three shall spread their blackened wings and be the vengeful striking hammer of God. You people have been chosen to reveal our existence to the world. You will witness what happens here today, and you will tell of it later. All eyes to the front. You must watch, dear. It'll all be over soon.
Now you will receive us! We do not ask for your poor, or your hungry. We do not want your tired and sick.
It is your corrupt we claim.
It is your evil that will be sought by us.
With every breath, we shall hunt them down.
Each day, we will spill their blood till it rains down from the skies.
Do not kill, do not rape, do not steal. These are principles which every man of every faith can embrace.
These are not polite suggestions. These are codes of behavior. And those of you that ignore them will pay the dearest cost.
There are varying degrees of evil. We urge you lesser forms of filth, not to push the bounds and cross over into true corruption, into our domain.
For if you do, one day you will look behind you and you will see we three. And on that day, you will reap it.
And we will send you to whatever God you wish.
And shepherds we shall be, for thee, my Lord, for thee. Power hath descended forth from thy hand. May swiftly carry out thy command. So we shall flow ever forth to thee, and teeming with souls shall it ever be.
In nomine Patri.
Et Filii, Spiritus Sancti.
How far are we gonna take this, Star?
The question is not how far. The question is, do you possess the Constitution? The depth of faith to go as far as is needed?
There we are.
Hello.
Oh, look who
Bring in
joined us.
Plutarch.
Yeah, I'll add him. You there, Plutarch?
Hello, Plutarch.
Well,
Maybe he's
added,
there,
whether-
but not there.
That's okay. He could be here mostly in spirit today. If he wants. Oh, we got a topic to talk about tonight. Oh, we're bringing up old Dalrock again. Well, he stopped in 2020, right?
Yeah. Well, I guess something around there.
And why do we keep bringing up Dalrock? Well, the manosphere, the RP space, really has kind of taken on a character of its own with when he left the scene, the blogosphere, and then YouTube kind of took over the manosphere red pill space. So we like to kind of bring him up to try to fill in a vacuum that has been left.
Hey, Nick, how much new has come out?
Not
since,
that much.
YouTube, well, since the blogosphere, the manosphere blogosphere ended, how much new development and ideas has come out?
Probably not that much. We've probably had more live examples of the red pill, more live examples of demonstrating the truth of the red pill than it was in the blogosphere, because now you see, I mean, you have all these live videos of women doing absolutely retarded crap and just proving the point.
True.
Okay.
It was a lot more participative back in those days than it is now. And so developments happen faster, insights happen faster. Now we just have a few people who are talking. And the comment is not vigorous. There's really no good place. I mean, YouTube comments are not the place to have a lively debate.
As much as we love our
encourage
YouTube
them.
comment section.
Exactly. Oh, there he is.
Yeah, I'm here. Sorry, guys. I'm really, really busy. Well, so here's the thing. I do want to say something on this, though. Showing the examples isn't bad. Okay. Like, it's been very good for men to see everything that the red pill said was true put on display. However, that has replaced the study. And we now treat it as if the manosphere has discovered all the knowledge that there will ever need to be to deal with the problem of women. I have bad news. Not even close.
No, we at least got the basics right. I would like to think.
Oh, yeah. I actually do think we got the basics right. But the one of the things that sort of happened to the manosphere is that it has devolved into low IQ single answer slop. Just do X, Y, and Z, money, muscles, game, X, Y, Z, and she will never leave you and your life will always be perfect. Right? And right, exactly. Yeah. So what we're saying is the blogosphere did great work. It put a lot of good stuff out there. Okay. And then we got to see it all on display, and that was really good for men. Nick, you were saying right before the show, even normies are somewhat red-pilled on modern women now, right?
That's good.
This is a good thing. But now we're just kind of resting on our laurels and saying, oh, yeah, the work is done.
Oh, well, that's the problem when you just make it a praxeology, cop-out praxeology, instead of admitting that there's an inherent morality embedded with the red pill truth. Oh, we lost Steve.
Uh-oh. Old man
He'll be
Steve
back.
having internet issues today?
Yeah,
Okay.
he probably hit a button.
He's good at that.
Yeah. Reminds me of who we used to work with before we did all this. That would happen a lot.
Yes. Not everyone can be a tech genius.
And, that's okay. People hit buttons. It happens, no big deal. It can be quite comedic though, especially when a boomer does it. Well, I was gonna start, but I kind of wanted to wait for Steve because he had the first he really had some comments on the first thing I was gonna pull up. So you can see it there in the
here, I'll send him a text to see if it was internet or just him being silly.
I mean, it's too early for snowstorms in the Dakotas, so.
Oh yeah, no, it's still they're coming out of their muggy hot season, but it's way too first frost up there is like late September, something like that.
Come on, Steve. Yeah, for those who don't know, I was just south of where Steve's at in South Dakota. I had to live through that for a few years. All the wind storms. It's actually usually pretty hot right now, but it might start cooling off at night this time of year. It's actually some great. If you want to do stuff at night, it's a great time to be there. Then October, it's really good as long as you don't get any snowstorms. But hence, that's when they have their pheasant season. So, oh, Steve, come on, dang it! Oh, he's working on it. I got something. All right, he'll be back. Okay. So tonight we're talking about Dalrock and Threat Point. And Threat Point's kind of this we'll see what Dalrock says, but it's the whole point of the Threat Point of basically holding the man has always this ever-present threat point or sword of Damocles that others ever listening have mentioned, hovering over his head, where pretty much at any time, if she ain't happy, the threat point of taking half your crap, taking your kids, rarely seeing your kids, becoming a wage slave for the state is ever present. And by the way, the church probably won't help you. I've seen it a few times. It's a very rare thing. All right, Steve's coming back. I'm going to start sharing this. So I'm kind of going chronologically here. So if there's repeated information on Dalrock's end, that's just because I'm reading through his content generally chronologically. This is one of Steve's favorite pictures. Hostage negotiator for life. This is from September 8th, 2012. And here you have this picture of this very modest looking woman with her kind of butch hair. 50s hairstyle. I'm not a fan of the 50s hairstyle, by the way.
But Nick, the 50s were the best. 50s were the best decade in U.S. history.
And then why were they have butch hair? Short, not quite butch, but definitely kind of pressing the stretching the limits, as you could see on the if you can see my cursor, I don't know if you can, on the hairstyle. The dress is actually pretty nice, but this is also the time when they start throwing away the head coverings too. But we're not really talking about that tonight. Oh, Steve has to reboot, so he'll be back in, and I'll get his comments on this. So you have a picture of this 1950s woman and this. Oh, there's something you would see on Looney Tunes. Usually be like Acme or TNT, right? With Wile E. Coyote.
Yep.
With the Roadrunner. At any time, boom, she can press the demolition button or destroy the marriage. So and in reference to this image, it says, Dalrock says, "Are you good enough to stop me from using this?" Money muscles game. Oh, there's Steve. It's your favorite picture, Steve.
Oh, wow.
Money muscles game.
I got back just in time for the explosion.
Oh. Are you good enough to stop me from using this, Steve?
No, because it's
I
too
wasn't.
true.
I wasn't. And if you heard last week, neither was Steve.
Well, I want to say something about this. I mean, because obviously I wasn't either. All three of us have had a divorce under our belts, and
Right.
most people will turn around and they'll say, "Oh, well, that's your fault." Oh, good God, if I
Oh,
dealt
have
with
I
enough
heard
of
that?
Yeah. I have more bad news for people. There is not a man on God's green earth that is good enough to stop a woman from using that. Just because she does, see, here's the mistake that people make. This is first order thinking. Well, she hasn't used it yet, so clearly I'm good enough. Okay.
I went 11 years.
Right. Exactly. And so now the red pill comes along and the red pill does second order thinking. The red pill says, well, she hasn't done it to you yet.
There you go.
And that's true. Okay. That's second order thinking. But then the red pill wants to come along and say, oh, well, you do your hypergamy insurance, and then you will be good enough to stop her from using that. Ah, God damn it. No, because there is absolutely nothing to prevent her from using that at some later date, regardless of what you are doing. Could hypergamy insurance theoretically reduce the rate of a woman doing this? Yes, but without a change to laws, that sword of Damocles will be hanging over even the most red-pilled of red pill men.
Yeah.
That's third order thinking.
Okay. What order thinking is this? Okay, my belief is the woman has that detonator. Historically, she's always had that detonator, regardless of the divorce laws. That detonator is her ability to make decisions to destroy her life and those of her children. She's always had that. The difference now is instead of it hooked up to a firecracker under her skirt, it's hooked up to a ton of TNT that blows up your life as well. Because prior to no fault divorce, women could still had free will to destroy their own lives and kind of affect the man, but he could survive. And knowing that it wouldn't hurt him, she was less apt to use it. But that didn't mean he was in a good marriage with that woman. It's just the destructive power has increased 1,000-fold.
It actually probably kept a bunch of women or men in relationships with women who they really probably were not good women.
Sure.
Now, I understand what the Bible has to say about all that, and I don't disagree with what the Bible has to say about all that. But I think what Steve, to sum up what you're trying to say is that yes, women could kind of blow up their own life, but the blast damage was limited. Now they can blow up everything about their entire lives, the man's lives, the children's lives, and no one can stop them, where we had checks on that before.
There was limited damage in the past, and now the damage is unlimited.
Steve, by the way, that's what we call a black pill, just so you know.
No, I don't know. I'm not sure if it's a black pill. I still like women.
Yeah, me too.
And I'll still take the risk, potentially. I just need to take some measures to avoid huge blast damage in case some woman in the future decides to plunge Yeah,
can I question you here? Okay.
Yeah.
We've talked a lot about IQ. Steve, you have a pretty high IQ. Nick has a pretty high IQ. I like to think that I keep up with you guys.
Yeah, three of us are similar.
Okay. The three of us can probably figure out how to limit the blast damage in our own lives of women. Would you agree with that statement?
Yes. But, you know,
I do now.
Generally, yes. It's not 100% certain, though.
It's an explosion. Nothing is certain in an explosion. Yeah. Okay, Steve. Now, take yourself out of the picture.
Okay.
And insert somebody with an IQ of 90. Do you think they are going to be able to do what we could do to mitigate the blast damage? So this is effectively a black pill for anybody without the IQ to actually do the work to limit the blast damage.
Okay. I can forget about the 90 IQ. Let's put someone with 120 IQ in there. Nope, can't do it. Let's put someone, okay, just for the sake of argument, someone with 135 IQ who hasn't embraced the concepts that we have. They're not going to mitigate it either.
So you're saying it's a combination of intelligence and knowledge?
Yes,
there's a level of ignorance as well. Yeah. A level of ignorance. I certainly had a lot of ignorance.
So did I.
And I've learned something this week. I observe people. I try and introduce them to the knowledge. I can give them the knowledge. I can present it on a silver platter and say exactly how it relates. And they look at it and say, yeah. They don't know what the fuck to do with it. And they go back to doing what they were going to do anyway.
That's the intelligence part that you have to have. And I think, people have broadly, as Nick said, the normies are somewhat red-pilled on modern women these days. And somewhat is a good way to describe it. Because we can give them in the most spurtastic detail all of the relevant information. If your IQ can't take it all in and process it, nothing is going to happen. It'll just be in one ear and out the other. Kind of what you're describing, Steve.
Correct. And there's another factor, their ideology.
Yes.
Okay, for lack of a better term, I'm going to call it the TradCon ideology. Some of those guys are pretty damn smart, but they have this traditional ideology that they just won't accept the descriptors. They won't accept the truth because it would shatter their reality, which is based on their ideology. So they think, no, it won't happen to me. I mean,
You know why
all
they
us
think
guys
that?
have
Two
done it.
things.
I'll go into a
2
risky
things.
situation and I'm man enough. I'll survive.
2 main things. My faith is strong enough it won't happen to me. Second, oh, women aren't really like that.
Nawalt
I'll see you on,
and the
I'll see you on the other side, buddy.
well, all three of us will see you on the other side. Yeah, so basically it's hypergamy insurance is an answer to Nawalt. Hypergamy insurance accepts that all women are like that, but it is an attempt to say to, okay, Steve, we were talking about, how you can give information to people and then they won't use it. Hypergamy insurance is an attempt to give normies a game plan that they can execute without fully understanding what's actually going on. By the way, that's what a religion does. I'm not talking about faith. I'm talking about the religion. The religion codifies the practices of the faith so that everybody can practice them equally well without necessarily understanding the why. Right?
And you would agree that's necessary and a good thing.
Yes.
Okay.
Hey,
but go
I'm
ahead,
just
Nick.
telling you, if crap in the Bible, if stuff gets really bad enough, do the women always stick by their man? Job chapter 2.
Pretty much, yeah.
What happened to Job there?
Didn't get bad for her, though.
And it never
Didn't
will.
get bad societally. Just for him.
Nick, I think you need, if you want to look at what happens to society, how he deals with society, I think we need to go back just a little bit further to Judges.
Depending on when you think Job was written, sure.
Well, right, but I'm just speaking in book order in the Bible, right?
Okay. Okay.
You need to go read Judges instead, because and I've been thinking about this one a lot because I've been reading some Judges, and people, I've been thinking about it in terms of the spurg out over birth rates, but when you read Judges, you realize that God actually fairly routinely crushes Israel's population a number of times, right? But so it's that kind of thing, right? If God absolutely will mete out punishment on an entire civilization up to and including his own chosen civilization at that time, right?
Yeah.
One of the problems that we have with our hyper individualistic society is that we cannot accept that there might be a collective punishment that is applied to all of us, including the good people. Because I assure you that in Judges, there were good Israelites that God was also kicking out of Jerusalem to go along with the bad, right? But
yeah,
in our hyper individualistic society, we cannot accept that there might be a collective impact to society for the individual decisions that we make.
Oh yeah, I agree.
Let me
So
add
maybe,
a nuance to that.
All right, go ahead, Steve.
We all think, each of us individually think, well, I'm one of the good ones. I shouldn't be punished. Bullshit. You are part of the society. You've contributed to this problem. I have contributed to this problem. My beliefs are the similar beliefs that the bad people have, and I go along with it. In order to purge society or civilization of these inclinations, everybody, all have sinned. Even the redeemed once sinned, and so they still deserve the temporal punishment of bad things happen to all people. And I can't say I'm blameless that I've never facilitated how we got to the point we have, because I'm a product of the times. Just because I've so-called seen the light now doesn't mean I don't deserve punishment as well.
Sure.
Steve, that ouch. That hits close to home.
Well, guys,
Yep.
when I say that, just accept it. Accepting that's a measure of humility. And if you find a man with humility, he's a man that you can generally trust. And so let's embrace our own humility and our own blame and culpability, and then, do as all men do and say, okay, well, yep, now it's time to pick myself up, dust off my hands, and carry on.
Well, we can get back to Dalrock now.
Yeah, I didn't mean
He
to
said-
hijack it for that long.
No, it's fine. No big deal. He says society has seen fit to hand wives the option to destroy their families on a whim in an effort to give them power over their husbands. In order to maximize the credibility and effectiveness of this threat, the church has stepped in to offer moral cover, and the culture regularly eggs her on. If she acts on this option, she will cause herself and her own children great and lasting pain. She will almost always end up with the real life bad outcomes the absurd divorce fantasies are based on. Instead of a secret multimillionaire, hunky handyman magically appearing with a proposal of marriage after she detonates her family, she is far more likely to find herself alone or pretending she did better than she did. But none of this changes the fact that she has the option to blow up her family and society's full moral and legal blessing to use it. While she can't rationally, there's that thing, hence why it's in italics, while she can't rationally expect to avoid creating her own personal catastrophe in the process, the threat she can hold over her husband is all too real. Men who marry or find themselves married in this climate tend to adopt one of three postures. Number one, the supplicating beta. He is convinced that a combination of denial and supplication will keep her happy. The supplicating beta husband's thought process is, if I'm good enough, she will be happy. So long as she is happy, she won't push the plunger. If she pushes the plunger, it is my fault. Besides, women never divorce on a whim. They always have a good reason. Those men who are divorced by their wives must deserve it. Okay. Number two, the master manipulator. He is in complete control and has the obligation to keep her from pushing the plunger. The master manipulator has expert skills of psychological and social finesse. He doesn't fear her using the detonator because his game is so good. He is firmly in control of what she does and thinks. To him, marrying is ultimate proof that he is so alpha he can deliberately place himself at an extreme disadvantage and still come out on top. Any man who can't do the same is an inferior being who deserves his fate in the divorce meat grinder. While not worded this way, his thought process is strikingly similar to that of the supplicating beta. Although he lacks the supplicating beta's repulsiveness, if I'm good enough, in quotes, at my game, she will be happy. So long as she is happy, she won't push the plunger. If she pushes the plunger, it is my fault. While the supplicating
Nick.
beta acts, didn't we just describe this?
Nick, I was going to say, can I just stop here and say that there is a large cohort of red pillars who believe exactly this, but there's also an enormous amount of church tradcons who believe exactly this, which is why I spend a large amount of time laughing, incoherently at Twitter as red pillars beat up on tradcons, because there's the sum total of their argument is my version of master manipulation is more pure than your version of master manipulation. Sorry, you both are still cucking for women.
Mm.
We'll call one MMG. What's that stand for, Plutarch?
Well, MM has to be master manipulator. So master manipulator.
Money,
game?
muscles, game.
Oh, money, muscles, game. Okay, yeah. Sorry, I was thinking of the thing in front of me. Yeah. Money, muscles, game.
Money,
yeah,
muscles. Number one is just your typical Jesus harder. It's your fault that you didn't Jesus well enough.
But here's the thing.
I don't know. I'm going to say master manipulator.
Average frustrated chump is number one.
I'm going to say JPH for number two for the tradcons. Just pray harder.
That is kind of what that is, isn't it?
Just be such an unbelievable, faithful Christian man, and she will see that in you, and there is absolutely no way she's going to leave such a wonderful Christian, faithful man.
Okay.
No, we've all heard that one. I've lived that.
Well, I just want to say this. This article was written in 2012, right?
Yeah, 2012, 13, 14 years ago. Yeah.
13 years ago. 13 fucking years ago, Dalrock saw this coming. Now, it's written as if he's talking to the present day, and I imagine he was, and there were people exactly like this. The current iteration of the red pill came from somewhere, and I do believe that this is where it came from. But what you're really seeing is that a certain narrative has taken hold amongst men that we know average frustrated chump is not going to work. So I'm going to go over here, do the exact same thing effectively, because I can't tell the difference. But because I'm doing different, because I'm putting a different coat of paint on the problem, that will make it work. And that's all you're doing. You have the same mentality as the average frustrated chump. You're just doing a better job of manipulating the paintbrush. Okay.
You're honing your skills. And if you be as a man, that guy over there, his skills aren't as good as mine. I'm going to learn and I'm going to hone my skills, and I'm going to be so skillful at this marriage thing that it's not going to happen to me.
Now, and we've talked about this before, all of this assumes that the old world order of women not having agency applies. We kind of mentioned that earlier in the show. Right. Because it assumes that a woman, if all her needs are met, she won't push the plunger. As long as she's happy, she won't push the plunger. And if she does, that must mean I did something wrong. there's no allowance in there for women love watching blood sport, love watching men fight, and will push the plunger just to see if they can watch a fight. It has nothing to do with what the men did or how good they are. It's nothing to do with who you are. He just wants to see some blood. Okay?
Don't both options or alternatives 1 and 2 require the belief that women really don't have agency?
Yes.
Interesting. So he makes this comparison. While the supplicating beta acts recklessly by inadvertently making himself sexually repulsive to his wife, the master manipulator may instead see himself as able to get away with what for other husbands would be acts of recklessness because he is so sexually attractive. He's so firmly in control that she wouldn't destruct the family, even if he treats her cruelly and or keeps one or more women on the side.
You see, by his skill and his excellence, just by him being such a man and so powerful in his skills, he can remove her agency. So therefore, he doesn't have anything to fear from her because he is such a exemplary specimen of a man.
There is no perfect man. Nietzsche is dead. No. Nietzsche died. The Ubermensch couldn't Ubermensch his way into eternal life. Neither can you. You cannot Ubermensch your way into the perfect marriage.
No, this is also the problem saying no. Women are more important than having frame. Women are more important than being on your own mission.
What was it? Women are the most important thing.
That was on
what's his mystery
on Rollo's show.
That was a recent Rollo interviewed Mystery on his channel about a month ago. And I think Nick was the one who caught that. I didn't catch it because I kind of got bored and I stopped listening. But
it was a bad comparison. It was money and women. I'm like, neither of them are getting at the root problem.
Well, okay, but I want to point something out here. The way Mystery said it gave away his mindset.
Correct.
The quote is, women are the most important thing. No, they're not. They don't even make the top fucking 10. Not if you want to actually get women. Okay. And people say, oh, well, Mystery's more successful at getting women than you are, Plutarch. Correct. He is. He's never figured out how to keep one, though. He's never had to do the hard work of really figuring out what it takes to keep one. And I don't think he wants to. And look, that is fine. If that's the life you want to live of the forever player, be my guest. But I can tell you right now that at least 80% of men in the world want absolutely nothing to do with that lifestyle. It is just too much fucking work. I don't want to deal with that kind of work. I have way more interesting problems to solve in my day. Women are not worth that much effort. They are not worth it.
Women are not your mission.
And that's really what Mystery said. Women are the mission. And look, the most important thing in your life is your mission. If women are the most important thing, then women are your mission. And that's where I think he kind of gave it away. And yeah, people can say, oh, well, we don't like you for saying that. Mystery's awesome. So it's like, okay, fine. You want, and what I would say is, gotcha. You want to go live the plate spinning, short term, use them and lose them lifestyle. That's fine. We were never speaking to you anyway. This channel is not about helping men spin plates and bag women.
Nope. I would find that morally repulsive. So, yeah.
I find it morally repulsive and frankly exhausting.
Yeah, exhausting too.
So this channel is for the rest of the men.
Yeah. Yeah. And option 3, the resigned, loving patriarch. He is unshakable in his knowledge of the fact that he is the rightful leader of the household. He isn't going to be reckless by either making himself repulsive or treating his wife cruelly, but he doesn't absolve his wife of her own profound moral obligations. Against his better judgment, the state and church have seen fit to hand her the detonator and to encourage her to use it. After recovering from the initial disbelief of the absurdity of what the church and state have done, his response is, are you going to use that, or are you going to make us dinner? He isn't above using tools of leadership and psychology to effectively lead, and as a loving patriarch, he wants her to be happy. Game is an effective tool which he employs for both purposes, but he understands that her capacity for rebellion and or to find reasons to be unhappy is great, and that she has to make her own choice. If she gets unhappy and pushes the plunger, it is ultimately her own responsibility. Now, the outcome's always going to be shit if she pushes the plunger, but at least I think number 3, I kind of resonate with. He understands the situation. He's doing what he can.
Well,
he understands game. He understands leadership. He understands, but he has frame. And guess what? She has moral agency.
Well,
is that
right.
what you're going to say?
And well, I was going to say, so I've said on this podcast, and I've said when interviewed on other podcasts, I acknowledge that Elena has the right to leave the relationship at any time. We have given her that ability to make the choice, but I have told her that she is entirely responsible for that choice. Not too surprisingly, she goes, fuck that. I ain't making that choice. This, number 3, works. It ain't perfect. Are there going to be women who choose to blow up? Of course. But it works.
Okay, in that one, he's realizing the risk. He also needs to mitigate the risk.
Yes.
He can't remove that big hundreds of pounds of dynamite wired to that plunger. But he can put up some blast walls, such as being aware, such as having some private finance, some funds that are in his name only, bank account, let's say $20,000, $40,000, something like that. In case she pulls the trigger, he can hire an attorney. If he's prudent, he can put some of his resources in a trust that, money can come out of, but it's shelter. In the house that they buy, if it's coming out, if he's paying the mortgage, the house is in his name only. It's still a marital asset.
Or the trust name.
Or the trust name. But okay, there are all kinds of legal things. And so the smart man can mitigate the blast if she chooses to push the plunger.
But he has to, but in order to do that, you have to accept that she can push that plunger at any time.
Absolutely.
See, what I think the mistake that
very few men are going to mitigate it because they just don't believe that she will. They don't even, a lot of them don't realize that she has the plunger And then the majority of the others believe, oh, I have a good wife. She won't push that plunger.
Well, so archetype number 2 in this list, I think, is at the most risk right now, because the AFCs, as Nick said, the normies have kind of gotten red pilled. They might not understand everything that's going on, but their awareness is rising. But there is a certain level of arrogance to the master manipulator that says, aha, I have found the answer, and this will prevent her from doing this. But if she does do it, it's somehow my fault for being less than. This is actually how men. Okay, can I say that on YouTube or not? Okay. On the statistics, most men don't self-delete after the first divorce. It's after the second. Because the first time they said, aha, I need to become a master manipulator. And they do, and it doesn't work anyway. And then they crash out. Because they told themselves that he must have done something wrong to deserve having the plunger pushed. Okay. It is this group on the screen right now that is in for the roughest ride over the next 10 to 15 years. Because these are the guys who are telling them that they've got it figured out, that they will be able to prevent her from pushing that plunger by just being good enough. But the way that they've built their world, if she pushes the plunger anyway, it means he wasn't good enough. He is a failure. He is undeserving. In the Nietzschean world, he is unfit for continued service and utility to the world, and must remove himself. I am not looking forward to the world of the next 10 years. And it is my concern that if the red pill does not correct course now, that we will begin to be blamed for bringing men to this.
Oh, I think that's guaranteed already.
Probably so, Steve. Probably so.
We will be blamed because we're already being blamed. There's already a massive pushback at the misogynist ideas, and the corrosive corruption of red pill is disrupting the entire world. And it's our fault that the men are not showing up to marry the women when they want to get married. It's the red pill's
Taylor
fault.
Swift? But don't you know Taylor Swift she got married.
Getting married, engaged.
She's getting married, engaged.
Oh, doesn't that mean like all the other 36-year-old women, single boss babes, they all got a chance? That
Absolutely, because she demonstrated that there is a millionaire out there for her. So now every woman knows, I just knew it. It's possible. Now I just have to find mine.
You know what really irks me about this whole thing, Steve? By the way, guys, I threw a post out here a couple days ago, and it has been absolutely swamped with low IQ retards commenting. It's the most commented post I have. It's great. I love it, because I get to see all the stupid people now. But it was a response to Charlie Kirk. And here's the thing. Charlie Kirk basically just told women to go do exactly what Steve described. Don't worry, ladies. There's a guy out there for you. Charlie Kirk is 2025's Sheryl Sandberg. Okay. And he's out there and he's, so, here's his tweet. Young women should get married just like Taylor Swift is planning to. You will be happier. Okay. And so he is saying that because here's what Charlie Kirk doesn't understand. He's saying you'll be happier. Women think, oh, I will be happier if I get a man with more money, with more status, with more clout, with whatever the standard things women want since time immemorial. Okay, fine. Charlie Kirk is going to be the cause from tweets like this of the destruction of more men than Sheryl Sandberg because he's a guy. But we, the red pill, are going to take the blame for what Charlie Kirk, in his abject ignorance, says on the internet. And so I want this is a note for Elena. She does our clips. Elena, I want you to take what I just said about Charlie Kirk, clip it, and post it. Okay? Occasionally we have to put markers in here for her. She's not actually here right now. But Charlie Kirk is going to be the actual cause of the problem. We are going to take the blame for it. This is me putting it out there saying it's not us.
He just said to all women, you are entitled to that.
Yes, sir,
man.
he did. Yes.
Well, Nick, you got another one for us to look at? Another article?
Well, all these men that wife up these women, these 304s and these epiphany stage and wall and post wall stage, they're gonna have this hovering over their heads. This is his article on Threat Point, Dalrock, in 2012. That is the ever-present sword of Damocles.
No.
Didn't I just bring up that sword?
Yeah.
Hey, Nick, I would imagine most of our audience knows what the sword of Damocles is. But, people are not as well-versed in some of these historic terms. So maybe you can explain to them what the historical context of this is.
Okay. Well, it comes from Greek legend of Damocles. He was a courtier who, after I'm reading this off AI, I actually never read this thing in my classic history. I read other. There's so many of them. I think I read like a synopsis of this, and passed on, but to the next thing. But refers to the Greek legend of Damocles, a courtier who, after remarking on the perceived happiness of his tyrannical king, Dionysius, was offered a taste of that life. Dionysius arranged a sumptuous feast for Damocles, but hung a heavy sword from the ceiling above him, suspended by a single strand of horsehair, symbolizing the constant danger and anxiety inherent in positions of power. The phrase is now a common expression for an impending and ever-present threat or a sense of foreboding in a precarious situation. So,
there's all kinds of stories about Dionysus.
Yeah.
Not a good woman.
No. So, the ever-present threat of being in a position of power, that's like being a husband or a father, except it's even worse with the laws in place. It's like pushing the plunger. She can at any time push that plunger and destroy everything. All right. So when discussing the topic of changes in divorce law,
in this case, Nick, she doesn't have a plunger. She has a scissors. Snip to the horsehair.
Yep. It's over. Dalrock says, when discussing the topic of changes in divorce law, we typically talk about divorce theft and how this causes men to be understandably hesitant to marry, as well as the impact it has on men and their children who are directly victimized by the new regime. However, divorce reform is as much about manipulating the power balance within marriage as it is about ensuring that women can frivolously divorce while collecting cash and prizes. Economists Stevenson and Wolfers describe this in their paper, Bargaining in the Shadow of the Law, Divorce Laws and Family Distress. In the literature, and this is a quote, in the literature on the economics of the family, there has been growing consensus on the need to make bargaining and distribution within marriage seriously. Such models of the family rely on a threat point to determine distribution within the household. The switch to a unilateral divorce regime redistributes power in a marriage, giving power to the person who wants out and reducing the power previously held by the partner interested in preserving the marriage. That's a quote. Dalrock says there aren't under any illusions. Divorce reform is all about redistributing power from the spouse who wants to honor the marriage vows to the spouse who doesn't. This is one of the best kept open secrets I've ever encountered. Also, don't be confused by the gender neutral terms. Women are overwhelmingly the ones who don't want to honor the marriage vows. This is confirmed by the academic study. These boots are made for walking. Why most divorce filers are women and the data on the age of wife at the time of divorce. Putting this together, divorce reform. So he's got this in red, so it must be important. All right. Divorce reform is all about redistributing power from the husband who wants to honor the marriage vows to the wife.
Uh-oh. I think we lost Nick.
The wife who doesn't. I think we did.
He has this problem at
I can hear you guys.
okay. Oh, there you are.
Oh, he's back.
Yeah, my internet's crap here. Okay. So, yep. Did you hear me up until here?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, so Stevenson and Wolfers are very open about this. They, of course, present it through the feminist narrative that husbands are evil brutes, which must be tamed, lest they abuse, murder, or drive their wife to unaliving themselves. And there's a quote, examining state penal data on unaliving, domestic violence, and unaliving, we find a striking decline in female unaliving themselves and DV rates arising from the advent of unilateral divorce. Total female unaliving themselves declined by around 20% in the long run in states that adopted unilateral divorce. We believe this decline is a robust and well-identified result, and timing evidence speaks clearly to this interpretation. There is no discernible effect on male unaliving. He says they clarify that this isn't about women previously being trapped in abusive or dangerous marriages, but about how putting all husbands in fear of divorce might tame potentially abusive husbands, emphasis mine. And there's another quote. To see how divorce laws affect the external threat point, note that prior to unilateral divorce, a partner wishing to dissolve the marriage could leave without their spouse's consent. However, in such a situation, a legal divorce is not granted, and as such, the right to remarry is forfeited. Under unilateral divorce, the value of the exit threat increases for the unsatisfied spouse, as the right to remarry is retained regardless of the position of one's spouse. Thus, the exit threat model predicts that changes in divorce regimes will have real effects. If the divorce threat is sufficiently credible, it may directly affect intra-family bargaining outcomes without the option ever being exercised. Indeed, they found that this was in fact the case. They closed their conclusion with, the mechanism examined in this paper is a change in divorce regime, and we interpret the evidence collected here as an empirical endorsement of the idea that family law provides a potent tool for affecting outcomes within families. Dalrock says again, they weren't looking for evidence that divorce reform allowed wives to escape abusive husbands. They are looking for and found that changes in family law served as a sort of marital sword of Damocles over husbands, causing them to bend to their wife's will out of fear of unilateral divorce. In this context, we can understand how cases like John's and Walking in Hell, while not the standard outcome of divorce reform, also aren't unintended consequences. They serve as a warning to keep all husbands in line. It is also worth noting that while academic studies couch this in the feminist narrative of checking what would otherwise be an army of sadistic husbands, this is really about husbands living in fear of their wife becoming unhappy and dynamiting the family. Only a fool hasn't noticed that one of the most prominent themes in women's entertainment is the concept of the empowerment of women experienced from frivolously divorcing. Christians are actively reinforcing these legal and social changes by abandoning the biblical view of marriage in favor of the feminist view. While the old paradigm was that a woman who couldn't keep a man was a failure, feminists and Christians have turned this around and now view a husband who can't keep his wife happy as a failure. At the same time, the wife who kicks the father of her children out of the house is now seen as heroic. This idea that husbands must grovel to their wives to stave off her ever threatened unhappiness is so ingrained in modern Christian thought that there was no meaningful backlash amongst Christians when this was made the central plot of the movie Fireproof. Tens, perhaps hundreds of millions of Christians watched the movie and delighted in its presumed Christian message on marriage. We saw proof of the same thing with the women of ChristianForums.com going on for over 40 pages, passionately arguing the morality of frivolous divorce. Shortly after I pointed this out, the moderators of the forum enacted a new rule forbidding members from writing anything in judgment of frivolous divorce. Emphasis is his. And he has a quote, "Please remember, I think this is the new rule they came up with in response to Dalrock stuff. Please remember that when someone shares a personal experience, it is not up for judgment. Divorce is always a last resort, but we will not allow judgment of those who do make that choice."
Bullshit.
This abandoned what?
Bullshit.
Yeah, bullshit. This abandonment of the biblical concept of marriage in exchange for the feminist view of marriage doesn't just impact the marriages of Christians. Christianity is the driving moral force in the West. And as such, their turning their backs on biblical marriage has given all women in the West moral cover to use the new legal threat point against their husbands to maximum effect. Oh, have I experienced that? Husbands are hemmed in by all sides, cheerleading his wife to frivolously divorce if he fails to make her happy. Yet, despite the millions of innocent men and their children who have been ground up by the machinery needed to keep husbands in their place, wives now report less marital happiness. And he gives this chart. Percent of married adults in the U.S. who answered their marriage was very happy. This is from Chicago GSS to 2008.
By the way, the GSS is a very well-run, long-running survey. It's the General Society Survey, the General Social Survey. It's like this big thing. They cover a lot of different data points, and it's actually, it's very well respected amongst the stats people. A lot of the stats that we pull for Red Pill stuff come out of the GSS.
Okay.
Hey, I want to paraphrase something I wrote back in 2010. Well, I have it up here. I'm going to change it. Just because one woman gets a frivolous divorce does not mean it's good to give all women a pass on frivolous divorce, because we should not judge. Bullshit. We all judge. All the while, many women and manginas are saying do not judge. They are judging who they have sex with and judging the judgers. They are even more judgmental than the judgers they attack. But their judgment is justified because the judgers have no right to judge. Only non-judgmental people have a right to judge. Yeah, I mean, if you listen to that slowly, it makes sense. But when I say it fast like that, it makes no fucking sense. Well, if you're a judger, you can't judge. But if you're non-judgmental, then you have the right to judge. That's the essence of why they put that law in to prevent Dalrock from judging because he was a judger. He wasn't a non-judgmental person.
Oh, accountability. You can't have that.
Right.
So you do see the steady decline in happiness with men and women. It's about 6% over time with men, and it's about
this is
a little bit
76 to
about-
2008 because remember this article's older. It doesn't have the updated data.
right.
But the other thing that I would point out is very happy is probably overstated in general. So one of the problems with the general survey like the GSS is that in order to make the questions accessible to the tens of thousands of people that they talk to, the wording can be sloppy, for lack of a better term. And you don't know how many people are saying, we have this constant problem with surveys of how many people will say what they think the surveyor wants to hear. So what I'm saying is the trend is the important part. Don't look at the absolute level.
Right. And imagine it's not even as good now, but I don't have the data, so I can't make that decision. He says we are feeding millions of innocent men and children to the machinery of divorce to keep this threat point in place and not even making women happier with their marriages. Oh, imagine that. Oh, and here you have an ad for me. They must know I like that. Okay. So that's Dalrock on threat point, the ever-present sword of Damocles to try to keep men in line. Or else. She snips the thread. She presses down on the plunger. I'll share this one now. Now is the threat point. Child support and the threat point. This is 2014. In this discussion of a recent post, the history of the term threat point came up. While I've used the term and explained how the family courts are being deliberately used to destabilize marriages for feminist ends, I can't take credit for originating the term. The term itself is part of game theory. Okay. So Dalrock's not taking credit for the term, but we're analyzing threat point through the lens of Dalrock. He says, when social scientists study marriage, one of the things they're very interested in is how intact marriages are impacted by government working to make divorce both easier and more attractive for women. The well-known feminist goal of our divorce child support revolution is the opportunity for women to quote unquote leave bad marriages. But the goal of incentivizing women to divorce isn't just to encourage them to leave marriages when they are unhappy. There is another fundamental objective, and that is to improve marriage by destabilizing marriages. Make sense. Okay, exactly. He says, this may sound absurd at first reading, but if you consider it a bit, you'll see that is actually conventional wisdom. The overriding assumption of both conservatives and feminists is that husbands must be held in check and that wives need tools to threaten their husbands to keep them at bay. Giving wives authority over their husbands is seen as not just good for the wife herself, but for the family and society as a whole. Yeah, bullshit.
Yeah, I think the idea that they're trying to get at by saying, improve marriage by destabilizing marriage, they wouldn't say they're destabilizing it. They would say they're stabilizing it, right? That's Dalrock.
By destroying marriage?
Well, what they would say is that by giving women all the power, because women are these beings of good and light, that they will make better choices than the men. That by that if men would just give women whatever they want, then life will get better for everyone, including the men. They honestly believe that if you the harder you simp, the better your life will get. Right. And so that's the idea. Now he's saying destabilize because that's what's actually happening. But it's a classic case of the road to hell is paved with the best of intentions.
Well, it's put women in power and you'll have a better outcome. Now, I think maybe every man has heard this in a discussion with a woman. Her saying, wow, men are in charge of this world. And look at all the wars we have. If women were in charge, we wouldn't have so many wars. My first wife actually told that to me. Now, we know in the red pill, okay, not that many women have been in charge ultimately of countries. But when they are, actually, the chances of war go up. Women are more violent than men, more easily offended, and they will not negotiate. It's just all out war. Hell no, don't put women in charge because you will get more violence and more destruction and more war, even in the family. It's true.
Yep, our crime rates have gone up. And a lot of them are raised by these single mothers who've got all the state backing them, and they don't know their daddies very well because daddy's not in the picture, but he's forced to fork over child support.
Well, when men, okay, if you get in if you have a falling out with a male friend, what happens? Man says, I'm done.
No,
They just stop talking. Done. You don't talk about him. There's no vindictive action. There's no lawsuits. He just, I'm done. That guy borrowed my tool or, drill and didn't return it. Fuck him. Did I get it back? No. Just let it go. I'm done. Done. Walk
Yep.
away. No more war. But when two women have a falling out, it doesn't just each walk away and go their separate ways. No, it gets nasty after that. False accusations and backstabbing and, manipulations of friends to destroy their life. Holy shit. Oh, men just can't bother. I just want to get away free. And in a divorce, when men divorced, okay, I'm out of here. Here's what I think is fair for you. Now just go away. But no, women will keep up the extraction forever.
Yep. Because you are now enable her to use you as a walking ATM machine. All right. Dalrock says, I've given examples how the concept is used in academic studies previously, but you can observe the same thing with regard to child support in the working paper, the effect of child support enforcement on bargaining power among married and cohabiting couples. He says this paper examines a relationship between child support enforcement and bargaining power among married and cohabiting couples. Simple economic bargaining model predicts that living in a state with stricter child support enforcement increases the bargaining power of married mothers who can more credibly threaten divorce. He says the perspective of the study regarding women and threatening divorce is the mainstream view. The perspective of both feminists and conservatives, women threatening divorce is good, emphasis mine. He says, the quote, child support enforcement policies may also have a beneficial impact on households with two parents by increasing the bargaining power of mothers. The paper explains the mechanics of child support encouraging mothers to threaten to leave the father of their children. In figure 1, the mothers Threat point is her external utility, the utility level at which she is indifferent between the status quo and carrying out her threat to end the relationship. For mothers threatening to leave the father, child support enforcement increases her external utility level such that she will choose to carry out her threat unless he takes less leisure and consumes less at her expense. While the paper's basic use of game theory for married parents is sound, it is extremely poorly thought out regarding unmarried cohabiting parents. It bizarrely asserts that stricter child support enforcement can give unmarried cohabiting fathers a bargaining advantage over unmarried cohabiting mothers because the father can threaten to marry the mother against her will if she doesn't do as he wishes. Emphasis mine. Our theory for cohabiting mothers, is a quote, predicts that these mothers can be better off or worse off in strict enforcement states. They will be worse off if the fathers want to get married and the mothers do not. In this case, cohabiting fathers will have more bargaining power. Yeah, no, I say bullshit. Cohabiting mothers will be better off in strict states if they are threatening to leave the relationship because enforcement provides them with a greater probability of receiving child support and thus a more credible threat. Dalrock says, what matters here, though, is not the poor thought process of the authors of the paper regarding unmarried parents, but the embrace of women threatening to take a man's children away as a tool to make the world a better place. It is important to remember that the premise that threats of wife-initiated divorce and taking children away from their fathers makes intact families better isn't limited to academics and policymakers or even just to feminists. The idea that wives threatening divorce makes marriages better and is good for society is all but universal. This is why if you ask your Christian friends to recommend a movie about marriage, they're all but guaranteed to enthusiastically suggest a movie not about biblical marriage, but about a celebration of the awesome power of the threat point.
Okay.
All this is essential. Okay.
By the way, guys, if you want to create a low trust society where everybody hates each other and no one trusts each other and they're all out just trying to do their own thing, do this threat point shit. Because what it reduces all relationships not just to transactions, but to hostile transactions where I can't trust that you will actually fulfill your obligation in the transaction. So I have to threaten you with something to do the to fulfill your obligation. Right. And that's what their thought process was. Well, if we just make it so that both sides can threaten the other side with, the moment something goes wrong, then the incentive will be to for both sides to not want to leave the marriage. It is a Nietzsche-structuralist view of the world. Okay, this comes out of the that 1950s and 60s Nietzschean movement. It is a core belief of your boomer and Xer sets. Both are hyper, but it is also, this is also a direct result of hyper individualism, right? Because in the hyper.
Can I add something?
Go ahead.
It also assumes that both the man and the woman make their decisions equally rationally and reasonably.
Yep.
Let me tell you, when a woman decides to divorce, she is not reasonable. There will be no negotiation. There will be no compromise. That requires reasoning. When she's done, she's done. It's emotional. She will not compromise on anything. It's all out war. So, yeah, there's no mutual parties, each considering their options, risk, reward, and coming to a meeting of. There will be no meeting of minds in a divorce.
This is what somebody with 115 IQ thinks the world, how they think the world should work. Well, shouldn't we all just get down and calmly discuss our differences across the table, and we will work with each other in a pure rationality to arrive at the best solution for all people? You know, that is exactly how somebody at 115 IQ works. The higher IQs recognize
Doesn't
that's never going to happen.
doesn't game theory presuppose that both parties are rational when they make their choices?
It does. To some extent. There are parts of it that get into leveraging the irrationality of other people, which
Sure.
is used here. So the game theorists will acknowledge that not all actions are rational, but the start of it is rational action.
Now, I want to say something for those who may not be aware what game theory is. It's a mathematical, philosophical, trading model of how people should act based on perceived reward and risk. It is completely different than using game on a woman.
That's true.
Completely
Yes.
different. These are two separate things. Game theory is a well-studied thing. Plutarch probably could explain it better than I can.
Yeah, and I won't because the stream would get very, very long. Game theory is a lot of fun. We use it in trading a lot. In fact, what you see on the chart on a chart is just historical game theory outcomes. So, just kind of, but it is a tool of rational discourse. It does talk about leveraging it against irrational people, but one of the problems for people in this case who are trying to use game theory is that men being more rational, they need to convince men to be less rational for those aspects of game theory to work, to function. So there is a reason why there is a push to make men less rational than women. And it is because women in their own irrationality struggle to leverage the tools of rationality against a person who is already rational and is naturally so. Andrew, I hate living here, by the way, just so you know. Yes.
Yeah.
Adversarial transactional relationships are the hallmark of a low trust society, but they're also a hallmark of high violence societies, because in an adversarial transactional relationship, there has to be a threat of violence. That the moment you don't meet your obligation, I have to go to violence, because that's the only thing that there can be to back it up. There's no rule of law. There's only rule of force.
Welcome to family court law.
Exactly. There's no rule of law, only rule of force, and that is how family courts work. Rule of force.
And it says, all this is essential to understand when considering calls to reform the family court. The vast majority of people not only see no-fault divorce and child support as beneficial because they allow women to leave if they're unhappy, honoring their vows. The vast majority of people also are deeply invested in the idea that women threatening divorce makes marriage much better. This doesn't mean reforms are impossible. It means that any proposed reform, which would significantly reduce the incentive for most women to divorce, will be met with fierce resistance, not just from feminists, but from conservatives too. However, at least some modern Christians and conservatives have adopted this favorable view of destabilizing marriage without truly considering it. The bad news is this view is nearly universal, but the good news is it is indefensible for anyone who believes in traditional marriage. A good number of those who embrace putting a cash bounty on fathers do so only because they have never considered how foolish and destructive this is. Take this out. All right. It would be immoral not to blow up her family. Dalrock, February 14th, 2014.
Okay, this I gotta hear.
Belle has a difficult marriage and turned to Yahoo Answers for advice.
Yes, the
I
internet
want
has all
out,
the
and
answers.
I want out, and I can't take him any longer. Here's a quote. We have been to counseling and he stopped going. He refuses to go back. He has an attitude most of the time. He complains and talks about me behind my back. He says things to me like, what's his is his, and I don't have anything. He has the job. I take care of the kids, and later he says he's kidding. I'm not on the bank account. He only talks to his family and friends on the phone when I'm not around. He never wants to go out with me. When I make plans with friends, they always get ruined because he can't watch the kids. Twice this year around already on my birthday and on Sunday. We never do anything I want to do. If I bring anything up, he blows me off. When I try talking to him, his response is whatever. His sister takes screenshots from my Facebook wall and texts them to him, and they talk about me. He looks at girls in front of me, then claims he doesn't know what he's doing it. He smiled and winked at our female realtor. Claims he didn't know he did advice. I'm now beyond that breaking point. Dalrock says, upon learning that this woman is on the verge of going back on her sacred vow and throwing her children's lives into turmoil, the Answers community is nervous. However, their fear is not that she will put her kids through the divorce meat grinder, but that she will fail to do so. Answer K describes herself as a counselor, an advocate at a domestic violence shelter, and offers insight which would make FOTF proud. I don't know who that is, but and here's a quote. His departure from counseling tells me that he isn't invested in changing any of his behaviors. I hope you're still going so you can start exploring options for taking care of yourself and the children. I'm talking about protecting your self-esteem and feelings. It doesn't sound like he has any regard for anyone else's feelings. In my field, we call his treatment of you emotional and verbal abuse. The fact that your name isn't on the bank account is a very bad sign of his need to be in total control. I'm quite sure that he knows what he's doing when he stares at or winks at at other women. I think we call that lying. Abusers often play the game of you must be imagining things. I'm very concerned about what goes on with his family. I remember a coworker
Okay,
asking a counseling client that what she wanted to teach her
go
children
ahead.
about love and mutual respect. Did you want to say something, Steve?
No, finish this, and then I'll say something.
Okay. I remember a coworker asking a counseling client what she wanted to teach her children about love and mutual respect. I think it's time for you to decide how healthy this marriage is for you and whether it's time to move on. It's not an easy decision, I know. Talk to your counselor, talk to an attorney. Join a support for abused women to learn how others have handled things. Get everything in place before you make your move. Controllers tend to play hardball when their sense of control is threatened. Be very careful what you put on Facebook and what you tell and who you tell what. Best wishes for a happier life.
First of all, her complaints about him, I'm calling bullshit. Remember all those things he was doing? How bad he was at
Mhm.
this, that. Bullshit. Bullshit. She's fucking lying. That shit rarely, I've never heard of a situation where a man does that. I've heard all kinds of stories where women leave counseling. None where men can't handle it and leave. So she's fucking lying in her first story. If she's lying, she's not credible in the least. But here, look at this other woman who believes every damn thing she says, even though it's not even plausible, and then is encouraging her to leave this guy. Now,
Mhm.
Nick, you know damn well that every woman who divorces or is thinking about it exaggerates everything bad about the husband she wants to leave. Most of it is
Yep,
complete crap.
and this lady's giving her the rationalization process right here. This is how she's going to rationalize leaving him.
Right.
He's a controller. He's an abuser. It's all about your self-esteem and feelings.
And so you're justified in being
Teen woman.
subversive and manipulative and hiding and getting all your ducks in a row and then springing it on him.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah.
This is a good this is how you see the machinations of a rebellious woman behind the scenes. I guarantee you, almost guarantee you, that a lot of women will do this, and they're going to have these secret groups and secret things that they attend, and they have their team woman encouraging them to press the demolition, press the plunger to destroy the family.
What's step one, Nick?
Step one?
Yeah, for the woman. She did it.
Disrespect.
No, step one, when she's develop the narrative.
Well,
so that's what she posted, the narrative. When she starts preparing, if she's prepared a narrative, then it's just a matter of putting it into play, and all the other women will support the narrative. Because other women will never, ever, ever call out and tell the woman she's full of shit. I don't believe you. They will never tell another woman, sorry, Toots, I don't believe you. Doesn't happen.
All right, she got one response here. Another response is, sounds like it's time to end it. Then here's another response, probably from a man. You're beyond the breaking point, and it's obvious that it's time for you to get out. I know it's easier said than done, but there's nothing left for you in this marriage. It is completely one-sided, and you've been taken advantage of for far too long. Do you have a friend or relative that you can stay with while you sort this out? You really need to start looking for a job because you're going to need to be self-supportive if you want to leave. Oh, here's another.
Hey, Nick.
King Swahili. What?
On that one, did you notice what the guy said? There is nothing left for you in this marriage, so you need to leave. Adversarial, transactional. Girlie ain't getting what she wants no more, so it's time to leave so she can go find what she wants.
She's unhappy.
She's unhappy,
but
so it's time to go.
He's showing that he's such a nice guy.
He understands. He empathizes.
He's such a fucking simp and a nice guy. And he's hoping that he'll have a chance with a wonderful woman like this.
Oh, here's another King Swahili, more like White Knight. Like those countries could ever build anything for themselves. Well, you see, side note, well, you see there, Bell, he thinks very little of you. You're nowhere near his equal, and he treats you as so. Your job is to take care of his kids. That's about it. You're a breeding partner, and that's the only partnership you have in this relationship. He stopped counseling because he didn't want to do it. And what say did you have in the matter? None. You can't afford to leave because you have no income. As far as the winking and other stuff, all guys do that. It's just when the wife takes offense to it that it becomes an issue. Do you nag him a lot? It sounds like you do. Maybe you can start nagging less, start trying to be his friend a little. Oh, and by the way, what are you going to do when you break? Because if you're thinking of harming yourself or your children, you need to find help now. Otherwise, you're in a position where you have no leverage. Good luck. Renee also advises ratcheting up the threat point. It takes two to make your marriage work. Sounds like you tried. Your husband's pretty much not seeing that you're not happy. So now that you're at this point, you need to follow through. Maybe separation is best for now. Your husband will see that you're serious and he needs to make changes. You need a game plan and just go for it. Good luck. Dalrock says, I haven't included my own answer, but it was the only one out of 6 which counseled against divorce. So this last one, notice how they say leaving, separation, threat point to take you serious. You know what separation is? You know what the actual term for separation is? Divorce. You're just using a less violent word. When a wife leaves, it's pretty much a divorce.
It's corporate
Biblically
HR
speaking.
speak. It's that
corporate HR speak.
soft pablum.
You need to abandon him. That's another word you can say. But hey, in the churchianity, I mean cuckianity, whatever you want to call it, not Christianity, but they would say, oh, they'll counsel a lot of these women to separation. Once they separate, they leave you, they abandon they've essentially abandoned the marriage vows. And they can have all sorts of rationale. It's bull crap. And the churches will just go along with it saying, you, sir, need to shape up now. You need to get your act together. You need to love her better. They're rebellious.
In theory, separation might work if you both come together and you negotiate in good faith, give and take, resolve your differences, and come back together. In theory. Okay, that's theory.
It's not an equal partnership. That's what it's assuming.
But
it is not.
Theory never works. We're in agreement there. When she's done and she moves out, she's using that as a threat point. Women are incapable of good faith negotiation and compromise. If she's that dissatisfied, there is no reason. She's not using reason any longer. And you cannot negotiate or compromise with a person that doesn't have reason or the ability
humility
to use rational thought. And
she also lacks humility here.
And she also has all the force on her side.
Right.
There's not even an equal level of force. It's like, well, why did the United States and the Soviet Union not launch nuclear weapons on each other? Equal force, mutually assured destruction. And then, they both have power, pretty much equal power. And so, okay, I don't think I won't bomb you if you don't bomb me. And I don't think you want to bomb me because if you bomb me, I'm going to bomb you afterwards. And yeah, that'd be a bad outcome. And through reason, I think I'm not going to do that. But if only one side had the nuclear weapons, what would have happened?
This is what would happen. Press the plunger, plus type in the codes, press the button, boom. No, another article on threat point. Jim Garrity on the beauty of threat point. Nope. Nope. Think I clicked something. Okay. Do as I say, Ward, or I'll blow up this family. Chapter 15 of Jim Garrity and Cam Edwards' book, Heavy Lifting, Grow Up, Get a Job, Raise a Family, and Other Manly Advice is Marriage is for Keeps, How to Avoid Divorce. Garrity's portion on the chapter is a rambling jumble of modern conservative cliches, with most of the content not addressing the question of the chapter. For example, he provides the obligatory wacky anecdote about how he failed miserably as Mr. Mom. That time his wife was ill, along with a sudden perplexing apology that the book isn't gayer. You may have noticed that this whole book is really, really heteronormative, as the social justice warriors say. Look, if you're gay or lesbian, I hope you're enjoying this book and hope life treats you well. I don't doubt gays and lesbians can be fine parents. But please refrain from whining that a book about parenting and manhood written by two straight guys doesn't spend enough time discussing the gay perspective. This is from chapter 15, not the introduction of the book. Garrity offers statistics that most divorces are for reasons other than infidelity, abuse, or addiction. He then offers his personal theory on what is causing the lion's share of divorce. He says, my divorce friends say that fighting rarely resolved an issue, and maybe that was the problem. There are four ways couples respond to conflict. He concedes, she concedes, they compromise, or it gets swept under the rug. That last option might be the easiest, but it's a short-term solution at best. Each time you sweep a difficult issue under the metaphorical rug of your day-to-day interaction in your marriage, that rug gets a little harder to walk on. Resentments build. Eventually, the issue you're fighting about stops being the real issue. The real issue becomes your inability to resolve any other issue. Garrity explains that the risk of divorce can be resolved by threats of divorce. More specifically, he argues that a marriage can be improved by the wife threatening to nuke the husband out of the family if she doesn't get her way. Emphasis mine. The D word, he says, can actually help a marriage full of conflict. It can be a great clarifier. Using the D word is the DEFCON 2 of marriage. DEFCON is short for Defense Readiness Condition, the alert state for the U.S. Armed Forces. If you notice, I'm picking fun of the so-called macho men in the manosphere, the man up attitude. DEFCON 5 is the calmest. DEFCON 1 is the most severe, basically meaning nuclear war is imminent when your spouse uses the D word. It's a screaming alarm klaxon that asks you just how much you care about whatever it is you're fighting about at the moment. Is it worth divorcing your wife over? Put that starkly, most of the day-to-day problems in a marriage don't look that bad. If you can back down from that moment, you've endured your marital equivalent of the Cuban Missile Crisis. John F. Kennedy's 1963 point about the basic common links with the Soviets applies to most warring spouses. We all breathe the same air. We all cherish our children's future, and we are all mortal. Note the weaseliness of the words he uses to blur what he is trying to say. He says, one point, your spouse threatens divorce when he means your wife, to make this seem gender neutral, when it is clearly not. He clarifies in the same chapter that he's writing specifically for heterosexual men. He says, is it worth divorcing your wife over? In reference to the wife threatening to divorce the husband if he doesn't do as she says. She threatens divorce, and if he doesn't comply, he is implied to be divorcing his wife. He says, if he can back down from that moment, yes.
Can I stop you on that one?
All right.
Because I've thought about this one a little bit, and I've even tried to think about it from a biblical perspective, but I am not the scholar that you are. Is it worth divorcing your wife over? In reference to the wife threatening to divorce the husband if he doesn't do as he says. What he's trying to say here is that, well, she's threatening to divorce you. Is that really worth getting? Is the thing that she's threatening you with really worth getting divorced over? I'm going to say this might be a little controversial, but if she's making the threat, she's already mentally decided to go through with it. She has already abandoned the marriage. So not only is it worth it, you should, at this point, you are actually justified in doing so.
I'm going to go one step further. If your wife even uses the word divorce in a conversation, for instance, she would say, well, I would never divorce you. Okay, she used the word, which means she's thinking about doing it. That is the point. Be aware, women don't use words that they're not thinking about.
You know, I've said this before. I don't know if I've ever said it on YouTube, I said it on Twitter, I think yesterday. I remember I didn't really have my red pill lens, you know. I thought women are sugar spice and everything nice. She said we were having a conversation, and I think one of her friends slept around, cheated on her husband, and they got back together. And she asked me if I cheated on you, would you divorce me? That should have been the sign. Meaning she
She
probably had
wouldn't
already
have.
thought about cheating on me, or she did.
Bingo.
Yeah, but okay, yeah, technically it's not a reason for biblical reason for divorce, but yeah, get ready. I would say you should start looking at everything now. Your eyes should be wide open because she might be planning on already pulling the plug and pressing the detonator on you.
You know what? I want to point out something historical here. The Cuban Missile Crisis. Soviet Union put missiles in Cuba. Okay. That alarmed us. They removed them. It was a negotiated settlement. Plutarch, what did the Soviet Union gain from the U.S. in that process?
Oh my. Now you're asking me to think on my deep history here.
Well, I'll tell you. I think it's true that the U.S. had missiles in Turkey that were aimed at the Soviet Union. Quietly, the U.S. says, well, you're going to have to back down and publicly take your missiles out of Cuba. So the Soviet Union said, okay. And Kennedy promised, okay, we'll take those out of Turkey. We're not going to do it right away, and we're going to do it quietly. There actually was a negotiation there and a compromise. It wasn't just the U.S. threatening and the Soviet Union backing down. Rarely does geopolitics work that way. The other side gets something too. It just makes sense. I think it was a good decision. And obviously, the world didn't go to nuclear war, so I'm happy about that.
But both had power.
Exactly. Both did.
Men don't. In the eyes of the family court, you are pretty much screwed.
See, and that's where this guy thought that the U.S. just threatening, the other side backed down, they won. No, there was a negotiation. There was a quid pro quo here. There was equal power. You need equal power for negotiations to work.
Yes, but the reality is that no one ever has equal amounts of power. And
you can't have equal amounts of power in a
right.
Okay, maybe not equal,
hierarchical
but
relationship. Yeah.
each side has to have a certain amount of power. It can't be 0-100, which is essentially modern divorce. If it's 60-40 or even 2/3, 1/3, okay, well, you can still hurt me if I have twice as much power as you. But right now, men have virtually almost zero power.
And the
Well, the whole
answer
point
is, by the way, Steve, the answer is yes. But it was Khrushchev who actually suggested it to President Kennedy, to remove the missiles out of Turkey. the IRBM Jupiter missiles. I looked it
Okay.
up. Well, but see, that actually gets to another point. Yes, both sides had nukes. Neither of them wanted to use it, and this is something that I think people don't understand. Russia is actually very aware that actually using nukes would be very, 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 very bad for them. And so the reason that they wanted the missiles on Cuba was for the same reason we had missiles in Turkey. Okay. And so the Soviets got what they got, something. They didn't, of course, get everything they wanted, but they got something, and it was a relatively even swap. And compared to marriage relationships, the power dynamic was still not in balance. Note how the Soviets had to be public about their removal, and the United States did
Right.
not. Right?
Correct. Yes.
And so it is always the idea that we can have a perfectly balanced power structure in any society, in any relationship, is mostly a pipe dream of the theater kids. That what I mean by that is even the hardcore leftists understand what I'm saying. The Marxists understand exactly what I'm talking about. It's their useful idiot theater kid group of bullet sponges. That those are the ones who think that the Marxists can actually deliver on their utopian ideas of perfect equality. The actual leftists and Marxists, they know that that's never going to happen. They just don't care about they just don't care about breaking eggs, trying to get what they want. And the right has struggled to deal with this because the right, actually more than the left, is desperately attached to this idea of perfect equality, which makes no sense given their Christian background. But what can what can I say about that? But believe it or not, it is the right that is most attached to this idea of egalitarianism. The left is and it isn't. It depends on where you are, but the right is almost universally attached to it.
Well, the right strives to a certain level of morality and fairness. It's
Yes.
only fair if we're both equal.
Correct.
The left doesn't really care about morality. They're more willing to use might makes right.
Yes.
And so, no, doesn't have to be fair as long as I'm stronger than you, and I have no moral problems with forcing my will upon you.
By the way, this is also why the right appears so weak when dealing with leftists, because the right believes you can negotiate with somebody like this. Exactly. And this applies to your marriages too. You cannot negotiate with a woman who has that much power in the marriage. There is no negotiation to be had.
No, again, you notice how the language I was using. Basically this man up march. He talks about all this militaristic language and has all this blunder, right? I'm a man, and talking about D word, DEFCON 2, DEFCON 5, armed forces, nuclear war is imminent, right? So he's trying to have this mask of masculinity, and he says, "You got to back down, man." Thinking that just stopping the argument will solve the problem. No.
Well, he also either just doesn't know the history of the Cuban Missile Crisis or willfully ignores it. It was a mutual stand down. They came to an agreement and they mutually backed down.
Mm-hmm.
But you can see where this idea of just give her what she wants to get her to shut up comes from. But that's not negotiation. That's capitulation. We have a word for it.
Right. Yeah.
But negotiation ain't it.
In your balls.
Yeah. And guys,
He
if you
talks about
capitulate to your wife, she will hate you for it. She will
yeah.
despise you, loathe you, hate you. All of the extreme words, she will.
Let me say it this way. Women will have contempt for a weak man. And if she can dominate you, you are a weak man. Therefore, she will have contempt for you. And she has no use for a man that she has contempt for, because she has the power to divorce you and gain maybe spousal maintenance, but certainly child support. Or if there's no children involved, she can get the greater 50% of the assets in all likelihood.
Yes, I know what you mean there, Steve. Well, we can't sell the house because the market is down, so you just need to sign the house over to me. And the courts will go, yeah, sis, we got your back. Sign over the house to her. I watched that shit happen in 2008. Couldn't sell a house.
And
so sign it
I'll
over.
tell you this, she will lie and hide assets and not comply with discovery and all that crap.
Nope. Oh boy, do I know that.
And then when it comes time to divide up assets, even though you've proven that she's basically committed fraud, they will ignore that and then say, well, she still needs 60%. You get 40, she gets 60 of the things that were able to be established, which doesn't include all her preparations in advance and fraud after. And so, I mean, guys, you're fucked. Right, Nick?
Yep. Man bad. Protect me, lady, at all costs, despite all the evidence. Yeah, they're a bunch of crooks and criminals, these judges. I say that publicly. Crooks and criminals and kidnappers of children. Anyways, moving on. Moreover, one of the core claims of the book is that by following his advice, men will become sexy. Well, we just said that that's actually not. Like they'll break you over the coals. Garrity's wisdom from his own marriage is that as the husband, he must always follow his wife's lead, lest she divorce him. That's the practical aspect that Dalrock got from it. Follow Garrity's example, and you will become a stud, the sexiest wife. Yet it is plainly obvious that he has absolutely no understanding of the mechanics of sexual attraction for women. Cam Edwards has his own section in the same chapter. He opens with a lengthy piece of how on the negative impacts of divorce on children are overstated, contradicting Garrity from earlier in the chapter. And I'm going to skip over the quote for time's sake. And Dalrock says it's very strange and uncompelling argument. First, he explains that his own parents' divorce didn't negatively impact him, even though a string of counselors kept assuring him that it did. Then he says that after his mom moved him away from his father from New Jersey to Oklahoma, he resented his father so much for abandoning him that he refused to speak to him for years. And I'll read this. I actually didn't talk to my dad for a couple of years after that. With the impeccable logic of a hormonal 16-year-old, I decided Dad's belated gift must mean he didn't care much about me. That being the case, I was bound and determined not to care much about him. Next, Edwards describes how his wife's children were harmed by her own divorce and decision to move the children to a distant state with his wife's ex-husband as the villain. Flash forward a few years, I was dealing with another father who was largely absent from the scene, only this time it wasn't my dad, he was the biological father of my oldest kids. When my wife and her kids moved from New Jersey to Oklahoma, it's not like anyone had any expectations that he'd be able to come visit on a regular basis. Still, regular phone calls or letters to the kids would have been nice. When a birthday or a holiday would go by without no contact, I would see the looks of disappointment on the faces of my kids. I'd get so angry that I'd write letters to him that I'd never sent. Eventually, we wouldn't even know where to send them. The fact that child support was sporadic, to say the least, didn't bother me. We could take care of our family without his money. What killed me was seeing my kids go from disappointment that they didn't hear from their biological father to the resigned expectation that he was going to let them down again. Eventually, on one rare occasion when he called, my daughter declined to talk with him. And the next time he called, my son followed his sister's lead. Their dad never called back. Edwards then finally gets around to the topic of the chapter and offers some murky advice on avoiding divorce. Unlike Garrity, Edwards suggests that unwillingness to divorce is a key factor to remain married. However, he then concludes by saying that we shouldn't judge people who don't follow his advice. I understand that not all differences are reconcilable, and most of the friends I've had gone through their divorce tried very hard to make their marriages work. Both my parents married a couple times, and if it weren't for my wife and our ex splitting up, I would never be the man I am today. I'm not here to condemn divorce or people who've gotten a divorce. I generally try to tend to the beam in my own eye before worrying about someone else's mote. All I know is that I'm glad we stuck with it through the hard times. I'm thankful our differences were and are not irreconcilable, even if they can still lead to, let's say, spirited debate on occasion. I am truly blessed to have my family, to love them and be loved by them, and I'm mindful of this fact every day. As is evidently the pattern, Dalrock says, for the entire book, the chapter ends with, what would Ward Cleaver do? He says Ward had his priorities straight. He kept his focus on his relationship with June and the kids. Work paid for the mortgage, but a marriage and family is forever. What are the odds that Edwards would marry a woman who, just like his own mother, moved her children to Oklahoma, away from their father in New Jersey? Important note there. Yep.
Okay, I want to say this. Women file for divorce and usually cite irreconcilable differences. That is an absolute lie. The differences are not irreconcilable because the women made no attempt to reconcile them. Therefore, they're just unreconciled differences. Irreconcilable means you made a best effort, good faith effort to resolve it. You talked, you understood each other and what the differences were and tried to come up with some resolution. No such thing happens. So
Yeah, they usually have a temporary restraining
intent
order.
to divorce is a fucking lie.
Yep.
Right, Nick?
Yeah, you have these restraining orders where you can't even speak to the other person to try to resolve anything. And if you do, you get sent to jail.
Right. So she's lying. Okay. Here's something I've learned. If a person is lying about one thing, they're lying about damn near everything. We know this from dealing with another man. If you're negotiating with another man or talking to another man, or if it's a friend of yours, and the guy out and out lies directly to your face, what do? Do you ever trust him?
Hell no.
Do you assume everything else he's told you? Fuck, I don't know. I know that fucker just told a lie to my face. I can't trust him at all in anything he said to me previously. That's it. So, in divorce, when a woman blatantly lies about the narrative, the reasons for the divorce, there is nothing about her that is trustworthy. Not a single thing. You know what? I'm saying this now because I learned it the hard way. I wanted, and for months, I kept hoping and trying, hoping that she would see some reason and rationality And that, well, she's doing that bad thing, but that's just one thing over here. The rest of her is good. She probably has some good intentions. I knew this woman from whatever, and I vetted her. And okay, bullshit. Bullshit. It was a lie. And then over months, going back to little tidbits that she told me. Women bleed information. And the information they bleed or give you, it outlines a big empty spot. It's like putting markers around an iceberg. Never setting foot on the iceberg. By the markers around the iceberg, you can determine the size and shape of the iceberg. And you can figure out what is in there that she's not telling me. And how do you figure that out? You know what?
Reductio ad absurdum.
Every woman pretty much lies about the same things. If she's lying about something absolutely, frequently, totally, every lie, it's all in the area of sex.
Yeah.
I'm telling you guys, it's all in the area
It
of
is.
sex. And and this covers pretty much everything. Infidelity, promiscuity, abortion.
Mm.
Don't take those things literally, but it relates to one of those. It's guilt from decisions that involve sex. And she will never admit to that stuff, but she will tell little stories around the edges. For instance, my first wife. Yeah, I got a cut on my foot. Then I went to the doctor a day later or 2 days later, and it was all infected. And some guys had to bring me to the doctor. And yeah, we were at a party, and I was barefoot, and I stepped on something and cut my toe. Okay, So, okay, dumb shit me. Oh, okay, whatever. Well, then later on, I figure out after the divorce, okay, young woman, 19, at a party with a bunch of guys, drunk off her ass. Yeah, I wonder what was going on at that party. Nick, can you help me out with that one?
There are guys there, drunk off her ass, and a bunch of guys brought her to the doctor or whatever. What was she out drinking with a bunch of guys?
I don't know. There's no proof of anything from this story.
Right. It's all
Well,
you got to calculate from all around all the angles to see if there's an iceberg or not. Chances are
okay,
it's an
now,
iceberg.
no, you can't just rely on one story, guys.
No, it's a bunch of them. I'll after you. You finish yours, and I'll tell you mine.
No, I got, that's the only story I'm going to tell. But there are others. And then you look for a gap in her history. Like, oh, you dropped out of school for a quarter and you changed schools. Oh, okay. There's never, oh, my father died and I was so distraught. Oh, really? Okay, yeah, your father did die around that time. But then you don't talk reverently about your father after that. So, this is doesn't quite add up. Okay, guys, you have all the information when you think about it. So go ahead, Nick.
All right. So this is me collecting all the angles after shit hit the fan, as before the train or after the train wreck, or the train wrecked, and I was trying to pick up all the pieces. Okay. Right before, while we were engaged, my ex-wife, I thought it was an LTR. I saw her maybe once a month. And then I moved away. I was working, and then I moved away, going to grad school for half a semester. It's real. The first thing I remembered, she tried so hard to convince me nothing ever happened. It was after the first few months of our marriage, I remember coming across her text messages and Facebook messages. And there were a lot of sexting back and forth with former boyfriends and other guys that she went to college with. But she assured me, oh, I was just trying to mess with their head. Nothing ever happened. Then some of these, I realized she initiated the conversation. One of them was when I was away. She's like, oh, but don't you realize that? Don't you think you would have liked me? You know? And one of the guys is like, no, you're engaged. I ain't touching you. Like, okay. Put together that. Then there's some interesting rumors before I met her about, I don't know if it's true or not, but she said she faked being pregnant. And then all the people in her class, she said, thought she was pregnant. I'm like, what's all this about? It's like, oh, I was just messing with them. I just wanted to see if I could get away with it. Well, okay, file that in my back of my mind. One of her friends stopped talking to her. She's like, oh, you haven't changed. You just still won't stop lying. Huh, that's interesting. And a lot of their friends that she did all these things with, these classmates and stuff, I never really met them. But then she'd go to parties while we were engaged. She'd go to like some college parties with guys that, oh, he's just a friend. I'm like, why are you talking to him? Okay. Oh, nothing happened. We're just friends. Nothing will happen. Why are you traveling with this guy to go to this party out of state? Okay. And nothing happened. No. Get married. Remember, there could be reasons why there's nothing on the marriage bed, but she claimed she was a virgin, right? Then stories started leaking about, oh, well, I did do this and I did do that, but we never had, you know, intercourse. Okay, sure. Then I find some pictures of her tits on her phone. Oh, I meant to send those to you. She never did. Probably sent them to somebody else if you think about it. Marriage bed dried up. Had a lot of people visiting, going out with friends. I just encouraged it. I don't wasn't a controlling guy. And then there's other things, but marriage dries up, going on trips without me, calling me before her normal time. She goes to bed, right? While she's on trips, going, oh, with these good having these lengthy conversations about these interesting Christian men she met. At the same time, calling me at 7 o'clock instead of 9:30, 10 o'clock, right? When she normally
Man, that just opens up
yeah.
her schedule, her whole schedule for the night, because she's checked in, gets a lot more hours of unaccountable time.
A
Hey,
lot
Nick.
of Snapchat, deleting text messages, phone down, Snapchat. A lot of Snapchat users blocked. Yes,
Nick, I have some
yes.
bad news for you. You married a slut.
Oh yeah.
I know she
She-
claims virginity, but that woman had more bodies on her before and after you got married than probably a couple dozen.
But she was a GBAV. Genuine, born again virgin.
Yeah, she had her second virginity bestowed on her by the church.
Uh-huh.
Well,
she bamboozled
no, if it was
everybody.
the
Oh,
church,
me. I'm
it
so
was
innocent.
it was in her mind, and Jesus told her.
Right.
Right.
Or
I mean,
or more likely, she told Jesus, now I'm a born again virgin.
and Nick, I've also seen this. Women will say that. I mean, and in fact, Alex, I'm going to pull this comment up here because this gets to the point. Mormons have this thing called soaking, but it's not sex, right? Yes, women
So
will tell themselves
soaking. If they're soaking and their friends come in to jump on the bed to make a rocking motion, does it count then?
actually, that was actually asked of Mormons, and the answer was no, it doesn't, because it was the friends doing it, not the two involved. I kid you not.
No, I'm serious too. I knew that.
So women will do this thing where they will do something that they know is wrong in a relationship. And then they will say, "Oh, well, that isn't really sex." Right? Well, that's not, and that's exactly what the Mormons are saying. "Oh, that's not really sex." Yeah, it is. Sorry, guys. Yeah, it is. So what it sounds like to me, Nick, what you're describing there is a pattern of behavior where maybe she did not have full on, so what even the Mormons would consider sex, right? Maybe she didn't go that far, but maybe she did a little bit of the whole, on her knees action. Maybe she did a little bit of the, I'm quite sure she was out getting sloppy drunk after she called you, and maybe she let the guys, rub up against her, if you know what I mean, right? It's like she might not have done the technical thing, but she will have done everything else that she could possibly think to do to get but without actually doing the thing, so that she can say, but I didn't actually do the thing. Whereas you are looking at it like a man going, no, that's cheating. And she's going, no, but I didn't have sex. So
Yep.
it's not cheating.
Well, there's one thing I said it on my interview with Pearl. I initially thought, I mentioned this to you guys. Initially thought it was about me. Now I'm not so sure, because this was happening while she was around the time I had my inheritance come in. She was traveling around, and I was, encouraging, hey, you do your time. I only have a few weeks. I have 2 weeks off per year, and I can't go traveling during the summer. And you're bored, whatever. Do your thing. I thought I was being a good, non-controlling husband, right? Well, that's when there was that Snapchat message I saw, and she was talking about with this other girl. Pretty sure I know who it is. And they would hang out together, be miserable, terrible little pieces of crap. They always tended to undermine me when they were together, and their families did. It was terrible. But it was this message, and she's like, she is inquiring about a G grape kit. She was inquiring about a grape kit, and her friend says, "What are you talking about? What you did was consensual."
Oh, no.
I
Okay.
thought she was trying to.
That's straight up. She did the deed. No
Yeah.
question.
Initially, I thought it was about me, because she had other friends trying to say that me asking to share the marital bed was some sort of SA, But then I thought about that. But why would you inquire about a Great.
No,
Yeah.
no, Nick. I'll
She
explain
did
it for
yeah,
you.
pretty. Yeah.
I'll explain it. She wants the kit so that she can go to you and say, "See what this horrible man did to me."
Yeah.
Or
That's the conclusion
it
I tend to
happened,
come to.
then plausible deniability and throw him under the bus if she gets caught and accuse him.
Yep.
That happens all the time.
Yep.
So, okay, we could continue to tell stories like this, but there's no point.
I pretty much got through what I
My-
want. I had other slides.
My
I can give. I
point
think I'm
is,
hit that.
okay, Nick and I both related. After the divorce, you have months to go back and think through these things. And you will. You will think back on the stories you were told, the events, and you will start to piece it all together. And you will get the picture of what actually was going on. Then you'll say, man, was I a dumb fuck?
Yep.
It was all
Yep.
there,
Yep.
and I didn't see it. But hey, Nick and I are smart guys. We didn't see it because we didn't want to see it.
No.
I don't expect any other man to see it. I'm not going to hold it against him. Well, what I will say is, man, you were a dumb shit, just like me. And then I'll
Yeah.
laugh and buy him a beer.
Yeah.
That is the correct way to handle it, by the way. The idea that you are going to be able to see it, that you are going to be so ubermensch, so perfect that you will know the moment your wife decides to cheat on you. You won't know, guys. You will not know. The best you can do is pay attention and listen to what we talk about this all the time in the red pill. What are the different red flags of female behavior? Lots of information out there. We don't need to go over it here. But that's all you can do. And the women will say, and the church especially will say, but and so we would say, okay, you see these behaviors, divorce, right? And the church will say, but what if she wasn't? What if it was a false positive? Honestly, the women are so poorly behaved right now, and the church is so defensive of women that I would say this is the consequences of your own actions. I don't like it. I don't think that it's necessarily, strictly speaking, biblical, but anymore for the guys, look, you have to pull the ripcord fast and you have to pull it early. If you and yes, it's going to destroy relationships, but it is better for you to get out early than it is for you to stick with it and ride that ship down in flames.
You cannot love her enough to fix her.
Correct.
You cannot pray hard enough to fix her. And you're going to try. I know that. There's two kinds of clarity. There's the kind that guys all talk about, post-nut clarity. You get a glimpse. But I tell you, what is the real clarity? Post-divorce clarity. that's what Nick and I have been talking about here.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't spend months dissecting my relationship. It took me 6 weeks to sort it all out and figure it out, but I did it. Steve,
you weren't married as long and you didn't have kids.
Correct.
Therefore,
Less
you
to
weren't
sort out.
as heavily invested as Nick
Yep.
and I.
That's all true. And to some extent, I'm grateful that I didn't have kids because, dear Lord, that would have been a disaster. Yeah, and kind
point, extremely high at that point.
Yeah, it's like there's an aspect here where, I sympathize for Nick, but I also understand that I can never really understand what he's had to go through. And
Yeah, and then all the church stabbing you in the back and leaving you to rot. Yeah.
well, yeah, I mean, I look at it and I say, I get the sense from reading Nick's Twitter feed lately that the people he really doesn't like are the people who stabbed him in the back afterwards. um, but it's just like I might not be able to understand and fully, just be able to comprehend what Nick is going through. But damn it, if I'm not going to be there to try and help him out how I can, you know, like what. And as guys, that's what we're supposed to do. Just even if we haven't been through it, be there, help out how you can, and tell the backstabbers that they need to do something else with their life. And I'm trying to be as polite as possible here.
You're much
But
more polite than me.
well,
And I'm not sorry at all.
well, but what I will say is, to some extent, listening to Nick's story, throughout these past few years, I am grateful that I didn't have kids with my ex. I am very grateful for that.
Yeah. The threat point, though, thank you for
Yeah.
that, Steve.
Yeah.
And by the way, it doesn't get better. You can have all these false accusations. The church stabs you in the back, and then you may never see your kids again. You'll be plundered for most of your income, about half your income, barely be able to live. And your relationship with your children will not be the same. You might be fortunate that they see the light when they turn 18 and get older, but that's the hope. You have to survive.
The reality is, it's unlikely. Even if it does happen, it's going to be a strained, kind of distant relationship. It's understandable. They missed so much of you. They were forced to live in their environment, and it was just easier to believe that mom was right and dad was bad. I mean, when they hit 18 and all of a sudden them to realize, no, mom was the evil one, that destroys their reality. It's the same damn thing as us red pill guys trying to tell the trad cons, you got it wrong. You got to take this into account. And they refuse, because to believe what we're saying would destroy their reality. They're just not going to do it. And Nick doesn't like what I'm saying now. I wouldn't have liked what I'm saying now if I heard it 15 years ago either. And I would have held out hope. But I'm giving it to you straight up, guys. This is the way it happens. This is human nature. The children will identify and even protect their abuser mother in this circumstance, which all us guys who are divorced, deep down we know this is the truth. And it eats us up. And then all you fuckers who keep stabbing us in the back and calling us the bad guys, you have no idea that real abuse is going on by the mother. A person who removes children from a father is abusing the children, because the Bible and in Christian tradition, children belong to the father. Right. We also know God is our father. We belong to God the Father. The image of the Father is so powerful. To deprive a child of that is abuse. And we also know in studies that children who grow up with their father and the father puts his faith and guidance on them, they're likely to continue on in their faith. Children who grow up with a mother are unlikely to continue their Christian faith. Daughters that grow up without their father often are the common women we see doing the things they do these days. I mean, the world is full of women who grew up without a strong father figure. Everybody knows this, and what is tragic is that Christians turn a blind eye to this, and the church does as well.
And they write you off. You're just an angry man. Where the hell were you when we went through shit like this? No, you were stabbing us in the back, believing the woman, letting the kids being taken from the father. You contributed to all these society's ills because you don't have a backbone. You don't have balls to stand up for what is right in this wicked and degenerate age.
Okay, let's bring this in for a landing.
Yeah.
But I want to circle back to the very beginning of this stream.
All right.
When, we were talking about, if a purge or a chastisement or bad things happen, the good people perish with the bad.
It's true.
And I said, am I a good person? I don't know. I contributed to this. Okay, so now we're showing it again. You Christians, you might be good people. I'm not passing judgment on you or your salvation. But you have allowed this to happen. So we're all in this together. So if hard times come, don't think that God is going to spare you, because we are all responsible for where things are at in our civilization. If I'm not responsible, my father is responsible. Oh, what's that thing about the sins of the father?
Shall be
many
visited for the next
generations?
4 generations.
Okay, so I can't escape it that way either.
Luke 13. Here we go. Trying to pull it up. My computer's being slow. Okay. I tell you, nay, but except ye repent, ye shall all likewise perish. Or those 18 upon whom the tower of Siloam fell and slew them, think ye that they were sinners above all men that dwelt in Jerusalem? I tell you, nay, but except ye repent, ye shall all likewise perish.
We, particularly in our society today, desperately wish to believe that through our own power, we can grant ourselves absolution of our sins. And it is the Christians who are the worst at this. They are the ones most likely to do this because they say things like, I call on the power of Christ, is a phrase they love to use, right?
The power of
Exactly, right? And so Christians honestly believe that they can compel God to save them through the purity of their own personal actions, through their own individual goodness, for lack of a better term. No. There does God met out individual punishments in the Bible? Of course, absolutely. But if you go read the punishments that he metes out when a civilization has fallen, he does not pick out the bad actor individuals who caused it. No, he takes a size to the whole thing, cuts it down to size. Because, and I maintain this, if a society has gotten to that point, it got to that point because each and every one of us, to some extent, was willing to allow it to get to that point. And because we were willing to allow it, we share culpability. Okay, you know, I hear lots of Christians say, well, but I didn't vote for these changes. Or my personal favorite from the boomers, well, we got outvoted. So we're blameless because the other side decided. No, you're not. You weren't.
You know what? I'm not as bad as those other people. Those other people are way, way worse than me. So you should go easy on me and just punish them.
And in the life to come, God may actually go easy on you. But that is not this life. That is not this life. And because the reality is that yes, you might not be as culpable as the people who voted for it. But when you actually talk to most people about it, they shrug their shoulders and go, oh, well, I lost. And what most people then try to do is they reduce their lives. They make their lives smaller. They pull out of trying to stop it. They say, well, you know, I couldn't stop it back then. You know, I lost the vote, etc. So I'm just going to try and live my life as best as possible. I'm not going to be involved with the wider world. And when you do that, you give the ground to those people who won the vote, and then they win more votes because there's a large middle that is not paying attention to any of this, who most humans hold the belief of go along to get along. They don't know and they don't care, right? It is those precious few holding the line against the night. And every time you say, well, I couldn't personally stop it, so I'm just going to back away. You're right. You couldn't personally stop it. But I can tell you this. If more people saw somebody standing up and fighting for what was right, pitting, you know, their power against the power of those people voting against them, it would be a different world than what we have today.
It'd be so much easier for me to just, what they want me to do is just shut up and move along.
Yes. Don't.
No.
That is immoral. Giving up, moving along. That is not. Did Christ give up and move along?
No.
Okay, Christians. Christ did not give up and move along. Why is it okay for you to do so? Why is it okay for Christians to just shrug their shoulders and say, oh, well, we got outvoted, and so I'm not going to. And Christians, and they will say this, is like, well, you know, I got outvoted, I lost, and if I try to fight this, I will insert bad consequence here. And I'll acknowledge that those bad consequences absolutely can and do happen.
Sometimes you have to let them happen.
Well,
folks,
by
don't
doing
listen
that,
to us. We're bad Christians
true,
because we swear and stuff. And we're not perfect.
And Nick's got a little bit of something in his
We
mouth.
criticize women. Even though we kind of all like women, and one of us is married, and we're not nice guys. So, you know what? For you Christians out there, there's no reason for you to listen to us. Go back to the happy platitudes.
Go back to your happy place. Happy Gilmore movie. Yeah. Oh. Your Margaret.
So what do we?
Place.
Who's gonna lead this menagerie next week?
Well, Steve, you had an idea that if you want to talk about that, I'm game for it.
I do. It's been rattling around in here for over 2 weeks now. I have it all on my note card here.
Oh, old school.
Well, I jot down thoughts, concepts that are necessary for civilization. First, and we're going to talk about all these, and I'll let the cat out of the bag today. First three I wrote down were maintenance, the concept of maintenance, low time preference, and accountability to higher authority. And then I went through a whole bunch of stuff and said, you know what? IQ is not necessary. It's not essential. It comes. It's important, but it's not essential. Those things are. And then I realized, you know what? These are virtues. What is maintenance? Damn, that's stewardship. It's a Christian virtue. What's low time preference? Hey, that's leaving a legacy. I don't have to consume now. I save for the future.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe even not my future.
Mm-hmm.
What's accountability? That's humility. Okay, so now I don't even have to do the stream next week because I already gave you the answer. But no, we'll do it because we're going to talk about these things. And for those of you who are still listening, I want you to think about these. Let me mention it again. Stewardship, legacy, and humility. As a man, what are you caring for as a steward? What will be your legacy? And do you have humility?
I have lots of thoughts about this already.
I have lots of slides I want to share or photos.
I already got these actually excited about it.
It sounds like it's going to be another long one next week, guys. Yeah, I have lots of thoughts on this topic. One of them you actually already heard tonight, and that the concept that religion is codification of procedures and processes and rules that come from places of intelligent experience and are codified so that people can follow them without having to fully understand why. That is built into this, what Steve is talking about here. So I'm looking forward to talking about that. So,
Right. Sounds like we've been talking about some tofu bridges and buildings.
I think it relates.
Okay.
But no, I wasn't going to talk about that.
Can you guys
I
tell
already
that
have-
Steve's been sharing a lot of ideas in the background over here?
I already have 3 clips of guys I want to highlight.
Oh, good. All right.
Oh, Frank Zanu for maintenance. Aaron Clary for low time preference. And Mike Pantili, who's a Catholic guy, for humility. I want to
All right.
take some video clips. So I want to bring in some other guys. You know what? Maybe we should make this into a 2-parter.
If we have to.
We'll figure it out. I think,
Nice.
hey, what I'm talking about here are essential, absolutely foundational things for civilization. And yeah, these things are lacking today. But you know what? This is so important. I think two shows on this would be good, because you know what? Here's what happens when we talk about these things. It generates ideas. So after we talk about it, Plutarch is going to have a whole bunch of ideas on this that it's going to allow him to explore those, and he'll think about it, and he can do a stream. Nick will also have a whole bunch of ideas. This is how, the responsibility of leading the stream goes around. And a lot of times you get excited because, oh, it's my turn to lead. Let's talk about this because this has been rattling around in my brain for a couple weeks.
I'm going to have a good time. Just in a few minutes here, we already spawned a bunch of ideas in our minds, and it's going to come together real nicely.
Yeah, I'm just sitting over here biting my tongue going, no, that's for next week. That's for next week.
Yep. All right, guys. Thank you, Steve, Plutarch. Please like, share, subscribe. Are we doing Saturday?
No, we're not.
No Saturday. Okay. So please join us next week at 5:45 Pacific, 6:45 Mountain, 7:45 Central, 8:45 Eastern. Please like, share, subscribe, and we'll see you next week. Later.
Later.
There was a firefight! Fucking